The pews was right together in the middle, and the aisles was on the outside. And we all would sit in our own pew. We'd have a pew to sit. We'd sit there every Sunday. And
There was no center aisle?
no center aisle. This has been put in, well, we used to have such a terrible time with funerals.
Yeah, weddings.
That's when they put in the center aisles. They never had them before.
When did you come to church here?
In 1905, and I served Mass in this church for 4 years. What age, I can't tell you, but I was, we always went to this church and we come in a buggy, horse and buggy. What? We got a car in 1970, and then we quit driving the horses to church.
Do you remember your grandma dad here?
No, they were gone before I was,
Lauren?
well, before I don't know whether they were born or not, but they were, the only grandma I remember was my mother's mother, and she never be with
Grandma McManus.
Grandma McMahon.
Huh. But they went to this church, didn't they?
No, they went to church in DeWitt. They were from Well to start with. They always come to DeWitt to church.
And you remember Grandma McDonald go to this church?
Yes, we had a window. Years ago, they used to have names on that window. Donations. And my great-grandmother and mother had a window there with the name on it.
What was their name?
Huh?
What was their name?
Oh, I believe it was Robert McDonald.
So none of the boys were named after.
Huh?
None of the boys were named after him.
No.
Ray did. Ray named his boy Robert.
Well, he could have, but I don't think Ray ever seen his grandfather McDonald either.
He's the one that he walked. Tell about him walking to.
Well, he established a land grant or
That's right.
homesteaded. He homesteaded in the old McDonald farm down here where we come by today. He homesteaded that in 1848. And we still own 120 acres of that same land that was homesteaded in 1848.
And how did he homestead it? Where did he
He
go?
walked to Iowa City, and he got that whole section for writing his name. That's all he had to do.
How much? How many acres?
106, well, there was 3-4 farms in there. What a
600.
homestead.
You always told that.
I believe it was 600 homesteading,
Yeah.
but it was all perfect.
Yeah.
And they had to, the reason they homesteaded down there, they had water in the creek, and they had woods to cut to keep warm. That's why they homesteaded right down there by the creek.
What creek is it? It's not Silver? No.
There isn't much of a creek there anymore. It was a pretty heavy creek in them days, and all that ground around there was thick with brush. And they cleaned it off and cleaned it off. Over there where Snake Lot and that horse farm lives, that was all heavy woods. Right in there when I was a kid, that was always heavy timber, thick timber.
And you cut the wood?
We cut wood down on the Wapsie because the wood down on the Wapsie was ash and oak. And you could split that easy, but the majority of this wood was elm. And you could not burn that, or it wasn't fit for stock for human consumption.
Oh, really? Why?
It was too hard to split. We got dynamite. Not dynamite, powder. And we cracked the log open. And we drive a wedge in it, and the wedge would have just a little water around it. It wouldn't crack the loaf at all. But you take an oak tree, be 20 foot long, and you drive a wedge in the top, in the middle of it, and it's split wide open from end to end, stay there. Never nothing else. Or ash, you could take it, split ash the same way.
And tell about driving the horses to the church.
Oh, we always went in horses, and everybody had to tie up their team when they got there. And once in a while you'd see the horses get in a fight. And they'd tie too close together, and they'd bring a horse that could nip or bite the other horse, and they'd get into a kicking match right there on the church grounds. I've seen it any number of times. But,
how long would it take you to get there?
oh, I'd say less than 45 minutes. We only had to go up Taylor's Corner and then on. And we had a good driving team. Everybody had a driving team, and then they had workhorses too. And they wouldn't use the same horses for the same work. They had workhorses they'd put in the field, and they had a driving team they'd put on the carriage. And they'd go pretty fast.
How would you keep warm in the winter in the carriage?
Well, we had lap robes. My dad had a coonskin fur coat, and he'd sit up there and drive, and us kids would try to keep warm. Oftentimes we went in the bobsleigh in the wagon when it was cold winter, and they'd have the sideboards on, and we'd sit down in the bottom of the wagon, and he'd stand up there with that coonskin coat on and drive the horses. And they did that a lot.
Boy, did he have any brothers?
Yeah, he had Uncle Pat and DeWitt, and then he had another brother, Charlie.
Oh,
But he was killed when he was 31 years old,
how was he killed?
riding a horse,
Oh, really?
trying to break a horse.
Oh, really?
They had to break a horse, and it threw him and it busted his stomach.
Huh. And so then you had Pat and Charlie and your dad.
Was the three boys, and my aunts was Mrs. John McManus, my Aunt Mame, Mrs. Hughes, and that's three, and Julia and Aunt Mame was never married, but the other two was married. So those 4 girls and 3 boys.
All McDonald's.
All McDonald's.
And they all lived in DeWitt, or?
They all lived in that house, or that farm. They were all raised there. And
They moved to DeWitt?
when they got out on their own, they all spread out. And 2 of the girls went to DeWitt, and they sewed for a living. They done dressmaking and stuff like that. And the other one was married to an undertaker, John McManus. And the other one, his wife didn't do anything, and then who else did I say?
Julia
Julia
was
and
married, right?
Mame wasn't married, and Julia died young in life.
And you lived with Aunt Mame and Uncle Pat.
Yes,
Uncle Pat never got married.
never got married either.
What was he? What did he do?
He run that place up there where Garcia owns now, right across from Lullis's.
Oh, farm.
He owned that farm for a long time.
It's cool. Huh. Yeah. Was the church cold?
The church was always cold, and we had a janitor that always had a bottle of whiskey in his back pocket. About the time church was out, why he'd be at the church warm. your name was on your pew, and you paid pew rent every year. That was your church.
Oh, and then plus you have to pay, then you have to pay too, just pay on Sunday.
No, we never paid on Sunday. We'd have to pay the church dues and if somebody was in your pew, stranger, you didn't come up, off they went.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Do they have a pew for strangers?
Well, not as a rule, but if you had relatives come to church with you, you usually arranged for a place for them to sit before you got there. You asked them your friends if they could sit with you. The church can do that. That's where we went. They had a sacristy out there. That's where you dressed. All the boys had to be dressed all the time.
I just wondered when they divided the pews.
I wondered too. I never thought about that. But the reason they did it, they used to always bring church, maybe they did.
Well, Regina talks about them going up the side aisle.
Yeah, they used to have to go up the side aisle, and they'd have a terrible time doing it.
Yeah, and Regina says she remembers, they got married in that church, didn't they? Or what church did they?
No, they got married with.
Oh.
Yeah.